Yo, what's up guys, SikaR here. Today we're going to be talking about everything in the 5.10 patch coming to Valorant. First, let's start off with the agent changes. There's 3 big changes here. Let's start off with Cypher. Now, his maximum trapwire length is increased from 1000 to 1500, effectively 50% larger than they were before. Now, the changes with his ultimate, he now reveals the enemies 2 times, and there was a 4-second delay between the reveals. This makes his ultimate incredibly stronger now. It's such a good change without completely changing how Cypher works. They've removed the time restriction to cast on enemy corpses, further going to the whole, makes his ult stronger, no delay to it, you could just use it whenever. And to further go with this, they've increased the cast distance from 1200 to 1800. This should make it much more easier for Cypher to get his ultimate off in the situations he really needs it. There's also been a couple quality of life changes to Cypher, so let's look at those. They've updated the yellow silhouette on Cypher's reveal on spy cam and his ultimate. The yellow silhouette now disappears if the revealed enemy becomes visible to you, to help you reduce confusion of seeing 2 representations of the enemy in a few different places. And the yellow silhouette now starts dimmer and fades faster to make it more distinguishable from an actual enemy. And the biggest update to Cypher? Cypher's placed utility is no longer destroyed by allies' AoE damage. This means raise grenades, raise satchels, Sova shock darts no longer destroy your trapwires, which means they can throw their utility as much as they want and you still have your insane setups. This is big for Cyphers. What do you think of these updates? Moving on to Fade. This has been a big focus on our prowlers on this update, which personally I think is what makes her so incredibly strong. So these changes should pull her back a bit and even her out with the others. So first, the duration of them has reduced from 3 seconds to 2.5 seconds. This means it doesn't last quite as long when it hasn't latched onto a trail or spotted somebody. Might not seem like much of a difference, but it could be the difference between it swinging around a corner and spotting you or not, so this is kind of big. They've also delayed the bite after reaching a target from 0.4 seconds to 0.6, meaning it's much harder to swing someone. You have to wait that tad bit longer to swing someone after it hits, meaning they've got a bit more time to react to it. So this is good for the double prowler swing. You can't do that anymore really. They've also improved the hitboxes on the prowlers, which should make them easier for you to shoot. So there should be no more of that struggling to hit it and feeling like it's got a ton of health. Hopefully that's all fixed now. Should be easier to shoot, easier to stop, easier to get away from. The prowlers now fizzle out and don't debuff. Instead of debuffing if you teleported away, think of like a chamber. If you teleported before it started the bite, it would still blind you. That doesn't happen anymore. The last change to Fade, her ultimate has gone from 7 ult orbs to 8 ult orbs. This is big because her ultimate is incredibly strong for the game, and making it that bit extra means it's actually a lot harder to get. That's a big jump. What do you think of the Fade changes? Are they enough, or is she still going to be meta? Let us know in the comments down below. Now the last agent change isn't as big as the other 2, but it's a good step in the right direction. This is for Harbour. They've changed his cascade. You can now buy 2 of them instead of the original 1. Now, as much as this isn't a massive change, I think it's a good step, and it reminds me of when they were looking at buffing Viper. Back then, when Viper was, considered F tier, we always got a ton of little buffs as it went on, which each on their own didn't do enough. But if you guys remember, eventually those buffs made her meta. So do you think we're going to get the same treatment for Harbour, where a month or 2, maybe 3 months down the line he's going to be in meta? Or do you think they're not going to buff him enough to make him good? Let me know what you think. That's it for the agent changes. Now we're going to move on. Riot are adding some new system called a real-time text evaluation, which only is going to start in NA, but it reads through, the general text and targets players who are considered disruptive by the system, and it mutes them. This is going to be great for hopefully stopping toxicity if it works properly, and if it works well in NA, I imagine it will be pushed out to everywhere else very soon. Hopefully this should make games more enjoyable with less toxic players typing just whatever they want in the chat. Now for the last thing with this patch, we got some agent bug fixes. They fixed a bug of Astra where she could cast a fake nebula right at the start of a round before the start even charged up. This, I'd seen a couple times, was pretty common when there was an Astra. I feel like it was never intentional, because I definitely did it a couple times by accident, but it's good that this is fixed, because there was a couple times where the fake nebula was really annoying to deal with. They fixed a bug with Chamber, where he would fail to equip a gun at the start of a new round. Seems like a weird bug, but good that's out of the way. There's been a ton of Harbour bug fixes, all to do with his Cascade. They fixed Harbour's Cascade being visible on minimap for enemies with vision of it, which personally I think is a step in the wrong direction. Every smoke should be visible on your minimap if your teammate can see it. It's just easier to get a lay of how things are before you're there. This, I think, should be changed the opposite way and everything should be in line with that. They fixed a bug where Harbour's Cascade would sometimes spawn under the map. Fixed a bug where Harbour's Cascade target on the minimap would shorten when aiming up or down, even though the Cascade would travel the same distance. Think of how a Viper wall does, if you looked up or down, it didn't go as far. Bit like that, so that's now fixed. And fixed a bug where Harbour's Cascade target on the minimap was slightly shorter than the actual distance it would travel. I never noticed this, good that it's fixed though. And the final is they fixed a bug where Neon Slide could be used to boost upwards in specific map locations. Think of back when Jet used to could do a super dash. They fixed stuff like this, which is big for the game. No more of those abusing of abilities and corners that just worked weird with the geometry and gave her a spot that she shouldn't be able to get to. This is good for the game. Anyway, what do you think of this patch overall? Are these agent changes enough? Or do we need a bit more? Let us know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one. Goodbye.